Today we're going to be working on time cards. So Chapter 12 is all about payroll. And even though a number of things are automated anymore, it's a good idea to understand how hourly employees' hours are calculated. And so what you have before you is Alice. And in a lot of companies, they will give the employee a number and instead of a name. So Alice is employee number 4, and this is for the pay period ending October 15th. Now, on the sides here, you can look and see where it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So this is for 2 weeks worth of work right here. So this person gets paid twice a month. In payroll and on our time cards, when we're calculating hours worked, we will separate regular hours and overtime hours. So this is for overtime hours. Now, in reality, anything over 40 hours is considered overtime. So in reality, it would be if you worked, say, 10 hours today, and then a couple days later you worked 5 hours. If you've only worked 15 hours for the week, you're not going to get overtime, okay? It's only if you work 40 hours a week. And so your problem in 12.1, and what they're trying to do is get you to understand how to calculate overtime hours. So what's going to happen is your book actually gives you different little scenarios. But just so that you know and are aware for your own personal checks, so to speak, overtime is over 40 hours a week. Okay, so it's not if you work 10 hours one day and if your normal time the other. So I'm going to have you turn to page 350. And on 350 here, it says that you need to calculate the regular overtime and total hours worked by Miss Webster. Any hours over 8 hours per day or 40 hours per week are considered overtime. So for this particular problem then, any hours over 8 per day or 40 hours per week is considered overtime. Each work week begins on Monday, and our first instruction is to record the total hours on the time card. So that's what we're doing right here in this next practice. All right, so here on this particular one, let's see, maybe I'm getting too bright here. On this one, we can see where this person clocked in at 7:54. They clocked out for lunch at 11:57. So what's going to happen is in calculating overtime, we go to the nearest quarter hour. And so what they do basically is knock off the 6 minutes here, and they knock off the extra, the 3 minutes here. So basically we're saying 8 to 12. So if I count on my fingers, 8 to 9, 9 to 10, 10 to 11, 11 to 12, that's 4 hours. So in the morning, this person's worked 4 hours. Now, she clocks out for lunch, and she comes back to lunch at 12:56. So the same process holds true. She's really coming in at 1 o'clock, so we see this, that was 1 o'clock. And then she clocks back out, and it's so small I can't hardly read it. It's 5:03 or something. And we're going to cut off those last few minutes. So basically she's working again in the afternoon from 1 o'clock to 5 o'clock. So 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5. Okay, so that's another 4 hours. So she worked 4 hours in the morning, 4 hours in the afternoon, nothing in the evening. So that's an 8-hour day she worked. So that's going to go under regular hours. And in the next one, it's pretty close to the same. So she works from 8 o'clock to 11:52, and we know we're going to knock off this 8 minutes. So that's the same as saying 8 to 12, and that's 4 hours. She works from 1:06 to 5 o'clock. Same thing holds true. We cut off this 6 minutes. So 1 to 5 is 4 hours. So 4 hours in the afternoon, 4 hours in the morning, that's 8 hours. And then, of course, this one's pretty much as close to the same. It is 8 hours. Now, on Thursday, she works from 8 o'clock to noon, and that, of course, is the same. So there's 4 hours here in the morning. In the afternoon, she's working from 12:59, which is basically 1 o'clock, to 4:59, and that's 5 o'clock. So we already know that that's 4 hours. However, she comes back into work at 6:01 to 9:33. So she's worked her regular 8-hour day, so we're going to put the 8 hours here. And these evening hours then would be considered overtime hours. So from 6 o'clock to 9:33 would be 3.5 hours, right? So that would be 6 to 7, 7 to 8, 8 to 9, and then of course the 30 minutes. So we'll write 3.5 hours like this, 3.5, because in decimal terms, 0.5 is the same as 1/2. Now, on Friday, she doesn't come in until noon, and she doesn't come in until 1 o'clock rather, and she works until 5. So we know that 1 to 5 is 4 hours. She comes in again in the evening, and she works from 6 o'clock to 10 o'clock. So 6 to 7, 7 to 8, 8 to 9, 9 to 10. That's 4 hours. So what's going to happen is, even though she works in the evening, that's not necessarily on its own overtime. She's worked 4 hours here and 4 hours here. So she's basically worked an 8-hour day. So then we will put 8 hours underneath regular. And then this one's the same as it has been, an 8-hour day. And then this one's a little bit different. So she works from 8 to 12, which is 4 hours. But now she works from 1 to 6. So there's an extra hour in there. So the regular 8-hour day belongs under regular hours, and she's worked 1 overtime hour. So that's the 5 to 6 that she worked. So we'll put our extra hour here. And then, of course, this one looks like it's the same. This is the same. This is the same. Now, according to your book then, if you work the weekend, and your problem just told you that, if you work the weekend, any weekend, then that is considered overtime. Or if you've worked more than 40 hours a week, that's considered overtime. So you can see where she's already worked her regular 40-hour week. So that means any hours after that's considered overtime. So she works from 10 to 1, right? So 10 to 11, 11 to 12, 12 to 1. So we will have to put that in the overtime hours. Why? Because she's already worked 40 hours this week. And then, of course, this one's the same. Now, we're going to count up the total regular hours. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 8. So 11 times 8 is 88. So that's 88 hours here. How many overtime hours did she have? So there's 3, 4, and 3 is 7.5. So we have 7.5 regular hours. Let's go down to number 2 here. So you have 4 employees, and here is employee number 4 is this person that we were just working with, okay? How many regular hours did she have? Because it's asking for regular hours. She had 88 regular hours, so we will put 88 here. Did she have any overtime hours? Yes, she had 7.5. So we're going to do this one first to calculate regular rate of pay, overtime pay, and the total amount she earned for the pay period. So we already know, how am I going to calculate regular hours? Well, according to this, she gets paid $11 an hour. So we're going to take 88 hours times 7.5, or, sorry, 88 hours times $11 an hour. Sorry about that, $11 an hour. And this is going to get us her regular rate. So what I did was I took 88 hours times, and her rate of pay was $11. And I have $968. That is her regular pay for those regular hours she worked. Now, equals 968, which is this. Now, overtime, before we can calculate anything, we have to determine what is the rate of pay she should receive for these 7.5 hours. So here's how you figure overtime. You've already heard that overtime is the same thing as saying time and a half. Well, so we got to figure out how much is she going to get paid for these overtime hours. So 11 hours, or $11 an hour, times 1.5, because that is time and a half, equals her rate of pay. So we're going to take $11 times 1.5, time and a half. And that means, and we get $16.50. So that means that $16.50 would be our overtime rate of pay. Okay? So now, she's worked 7.5 hours, so we'll take 7.5 hours times the $16.50, and that tells us how much she should get paid for those hours, those overtime hours. So $16.50 times 7.5 hours equals $123.75. So her overtime rate for those few hours is $123.75. And that went there. So she made $123.75 for overtime hours plus her 968 hours. So then her paycheck, her gross pay, that's what they call that without any deductions taken out or taxes, is $1,091.75. So those are her total earnings, $1,091.75, okay? That is called gross pay. So the next thing that we're going to do is calculating commissions and calculating Social Security and Medicare. So I will put that on the next video because this one is getting a little bit too long.